Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Welcome to the Medins. You know, we finally got down to the youngest Medin members in our generation, Daniel and Brianna. Would you say hello, please?
Hello, please.
Thank you. They think they're pretty funny. As you all know, we've been kind of going through the different family groups to get to know who everyone is here in the Medins. You'll end up meeting ultimately when you come to get to know us, or if you know us already. Some people may know us, but they don't know everyone. I know quite a few people who have been like, I've met some of you, but you and this other person are related? I'm like, yes, Drew is our brother. I know he doesn't look anything like us, but he is in fact related. And Daniel,
Deborah is our sister.
Yeah, she's shorter than everybody and somehow also cuter than everybody, but is related to us. Well, now we finally get to meet Daniel and his wonderful wife. Let's dive right in. Would you like to introduce yourself, Damien?
Hi, I'm Dan, or more commonly known in this household as Buddy, or by her Babe. What do you want to know?
Well, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Social Security, credit
favorite
card.
color, all your passwords, all the stuff that
dog.
you usually refuse to tell anyone.
I couldn't tell you my passwords because I don't memorize them. I am...
What do you do for a living?
I don't talk about myself very often.
This is Daniel.
Hi.
He works at a company. I will refrain from saying the name. And he is a computer scientist. He is currently working in a back end of the company, but will soon be moving to a security side. Take it away.
Back-end development, but in security. Insider threat, meaning that I'll take care of anybody who might make mistakes that would cause secure threats to the company I work for. This is my beautiful wife, Brianna, and we have a beautiful daughter whose name is Olivia. She's sleeping right now.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brianna.
Yeah.
So I am Brianna, as has been...
As we've said a few times so far.
Quite a few. And we have our daughter, Olivia. I stay at home and watch her. But before she was born and before I ended college, I was studying... I was about to say computer science. That is not correct. That was you.
Ooh, I didn't know this.
Yeah. I was studying law enforcement, and I graduated with a degree in law enforcement. And so I studied that so that I could be a police officer, which is pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. But before we get too far into the episode, I want to give a word from our sponsors, the Med City Moonshots. I'm the camera guy for all this stuff, so it's kind of hard to set up shots by myself when I can't be in them as I'm setting them up. So I hope you can see the sweatshirt. Med City Moonshots is a phenomenal organization based out of Rochester, Minnesota, where they take individuals with special needs and gifts and let them play baseball on a professional level. They get to play with people like the Twins, Rochester Honkers, as well as other baseball clubs that have been getting involved, along with some other great businesses. They've had some fun celebrity games, and I think they get to play with their parents and different things. It's a lot of really cool things, but the main purpose and mission of the Med City Moonshots is to show society that people with special giftings and needs aren't just glorified spectators, but they have something to contribute, and they are capable of a lot more than we tend to give them credit for. And they are doing some wonderful and amazing things. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but they're looking at expanding their team to create a few more to reach the cities because the response to the organization has been so great. And so you're going to want to keep in touch with the Med City Moonshots on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm sorry, I work in LinkedIn all the time, so I always say LinkedIn. Sorry, Facebook and I believe Instagram, to see when that's going to happen. So if you have someone in your family or a friend who has a child or even a young adult with special gifts and needs, we'd love to be able to have them join those teams. So keep posting on their page on Facebook and Instagram, and keep following us at Welcome to the Medins on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and we'll be keeping you guys up to date on that. Also, if you'd like to support the organization, you can buy some of these sweatshirts. Every dollar goes straight back into the organization to be able to fund their mission to be able to keep this going and growing. And since they're going to be expanding, they're going to need a lot more, which means they need to sell a lot more sweatshirts. So I'd encourage you to check them out at Med City Moonshots on Facebook. Contact them and buy yourself and your whole family sweatshirts. All right, back to the episode. So, Damon, you're the youngest.
Yep.
What has that been like, being the youngest of 7? I mean, I believe growing, of course, because we grew up together, you didn't just have one set of parents. You had a set of parents, you had the set of grandparents, but then you also had every sibling watching after everything you did. How'd that feel growing up?
It felt good. Now I spent a lot of my time in like one of the corner rooms playing with Legos, and playing by myself, just because when I was younger, people would try to play with me, and I didn't like that. I liked setting things up the way that I liked them, especially with Legos, and not letting people touch them. But
you were fine touching everyone else's Legos.
Yeah, I actually stole, air quotes, mostly Sean's Legos. It's really hard to.
You aren't talking to me. You're talking to them.
You feel
the
like
listeners.
You're the interviewer, so it's really hard not to look at you.
But the listeners are right there in front of you. Welcome.
Welcome, guys.
To the Medins.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Daniel.
Hi.
So good to see you guys here
good to see you too.
in the episode that is all about you guys. Do you hang out here often?
We live
pretty much
here.
every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right now we're watching over a family friend's house for the next 2 weeks, but yeah, live here, work here,
Play here.
Raise our beautiful daughter Olivia here. So
Here's a good place.
yeah, this is a great place.
There's times I'm definitely jealous of the fact that you're a programmer and you work at home. That'd be great.
You want a program? I hear they have a great program for that.
Internship program.
Yeah, at his work.
It's called TDP.
Yeah,
Technology Development Program.
The unofficial unnamed sponsor of
Yeah, not a sponsor yet.
They sort of are. They pay your bills and
yeah, so Brianna and I met back in
2018.
Thank you. It's hard because we were 17 at the time, so it's like 2017, 2018, not so sure. 2018, thank you. We met at RCTC, Rochester Community Technical College.
Not an official sponsor of this episode.
but they have good programs.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. I was on my last semester, and so were you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did do a summer semester after, but it was practically my last semester because the 2 classes that I took were online and very easy, and so I'll just call it my last semester.
There's a part of this story that I want to tell because to me it seems kind of cool, but it's also your story, so I don't really want to tell it because it's your story.
Well, I want to know what part it is, so go ahead and tell
Have we
it.
gotten to it yet?
All right. So some of your story, and you guys can correct me, but I kind of remember you guys meeting through prom and leading up to homeschool prom.
Yep.
Yeah, homeschool prom.
Yep, Roche.
Homeschoolers had proms.
And
Yes.
they are very classy.
Because our mom said we could.
Yes.
Thank
I
you,
have
Mom.
gone to 2 different ones. There
Well
are
done.
multiple homeschool
Yeah.
proms.
So I remember, and if you want, we can edit this out. Again, just remember the breaks. So there was someone that Dan Man, also another name he goes by quite often, wanted to ask to the prom. And he asked her, and she said no. But then
I painted an entire picture during
I-
the 50th.
I didn't want to go into those details. But you asked her, and she said no, and I mean that was a bummer at what it would appear at the time. But then, was it the same day or like next couple days or something
It was like
I think
it was the
same
day
day.
after.
day after?
Yeah.
You were at RCTC and you went up to the spot where you guys hang out or something,
The Nerd Nook.
and Brianna was right there, and I thought one of your friends said she would like to go with you.
So what happened was that one of my friends was sitting down there, and I brought my violin with me, and he was a music guy, and actually a lot of the people you were hanging out with at the time were taking,
They were all, yeah.
we're all music people taking guitar lessons together. And he invited me down to sit with you guys and probably talk music stuff. And you and Becca, I'm blanking on the last name.
Well, they aren't going to be in this episode, so
You and one of your friends were sitting down with him, and we were just kind of all talking. And I met you and Becca and got to talk with Sam, the guy who invited me down. And I don't really remember most of the conversation that day, but ever since that day, I would come and hang out with like all the music people, and pretty much bring my violin the entire rest of the semester. Is there more you want to tell about this story, Sean?
Well, it was that, like, pretty much the next day. I think you, like everyone in the group, knew that the other young lady had said no. But then someone said, well, Brianna would like to go with you. And that pretty much is what started it all. And, of course, I mean, there's details I don't fully know. But people are probably wondering, well, why is that kind of cool? And the reason why it's kind of cool is it was a decision that was obviously going to impact your whole entire life and lead to where we are today, having this, getting to have this episode recorded about you two. And a loss for that other young lady. She's not here. Too bad. But what
she
it
didn't
was,
get diamond membership.
true, and we will have to talk about that Medin membership program at some point in time on this podcast. But Brianna basically saw the opportunity she wanted, and jumped at it, all because someone else said no. But that was what seemed to be a bummer, was a redirection towards what would ultimately be for the better. And
As man's rejection is God's redirection.
yes,
I think I heard that from Stephen Furtick.
Thank you, Stephen Furtick, another unofficial sponsor of this podcast. One day we are going to be best friends, I promise. But that was just a little side story tidbit leading into your guys' story that I always thought was kind of cool. I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about it, and just how one person's decision could actually be the whole proper redirection for the rest of your life. Although it may be a bummer at that time. If you keep going forward, you end up getting what ultimately you wanted, even if you didn't fully know that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in our story before we met lined up things that we had gone through. We had gone through at about the same time in life, considering we're just a little over a month
and 4
apart
days.
in age. It makes sense that we went through pretty similar things at the same time, but all of those things that God showed us in life that had lined up just confirmed that God put us together for a reason, and it's always good to go back to the start and realize that.
And Sean, you actually had you and your characteristic had or yeah, I think that's the right word. Had a role to play in her saying yes to me when I asked her to prom. So
I wasn't there, so.
Little actions have big impacts on people. No
like
matter.
little ears hear big things.
Yeah. So what happened was that Sean wasn't all too incorrect. He had some details right. Sorry. We hung out for a while. We played music together down in the cafeteria, which I'm sure probably annoyed a lot of the other kids who were in the cafeteria. And I would hang out with her and her friends, and all my friends at the time would still hang out in the Nerd Nook. But there was this one guy who kept going up in the Nerd Nook only when I left. And the rest of my friends were, at the time, girls. And so it was really, they felt really awkward, and they would text me about it. In my eyes, I didn't know any better. I thought he was just being weird. And I went up there about ready to get all tough on him, but then I remembered something you told me like the week prior, is that it's better to, instead of confront someone with like threatening looks or anything, it's better to just talk to them and figure out who they are first. And that's exactly what I did. And he turned out to be a really nice guy. And Brianna saw that and later on told me that she wasn't ever wanting to go to prom, but when I did that, instead of going up all like beating my chest to him, I sat down with him and I talked with him, and she said that was when she decided that if I were to ask her to prom, she'd say yes.
And the fact that you would go defend your friends impressed me enough to want to go with you in the first place.
So then, did you ask Brianna in a special cutesy way?
I invited her to church, and
that's a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind, gentlemen.
And she did all she could to make it work, and she did, and she came. And at the time, we had 3 services, and she stayed from the first service to the third service.
Dedication. That's why I got diamond status.
She stayed, and then she went to have lunch with us at Wild Bill's, and then I paid for her food, and we were walking out of the restaurant, and I already had a plan to ask her, because my friends were like, hey, you should totally ask her, because I'm going to ask her friend, and you should ask her so we can all go together type thing. And I was like, yeah, I was already thinking about it, man. I'm one step ahead of you. And right before the boys, Sean and and William, who came with, and I think Austin might have come with too.
I think Austin was there.
Tyler was also there. He was the saving grace of the conversations.
And maybe Simon Broadwater.
Yes, he was there too.
Oh,
I was the only female.
I have very good memory. I didn't know that. And I was waiting like desperately for all the boys to get in the car so I could be like left alone outside of the car, next to the car with her, and ask her. And I said, Brianna, would you do me the honor of going to prom with me? And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. And that was the cutesy way I asked her. And then I freaked out about it to Sean as we drove back home.
So after prom, how did you go about asking Brianna to be your girlfriend?
We actually started dating before.
In the middle of prom.
Yeah. No, we started dating before prom. A couple of your siblings might disagree because they hadn't met me yet, but we say that we started dating
As long as mom and dad said we were dating.
And they did. But we weren't allowed to hold hands.
Scandalous.
Yep.
Premarital handle.
We were allowed to hold hands for the prom night, and I think the church dance that you invited me to. But other than that, we weren't.
Someone please say, let's pray, and I'll hold hands. I'll be right next to Brianna. Just
So
God,
that
if you would do that for me.
That did happen a couple of times at youth group. I did trade spots with people during a game so that I could hold Daniel's hand.
I'm going to start looking out for that in youth ministry now. When I see kids move, I'll be like, no, I know what you're doing. Stop.
Sit back down. It was kind of it was kind of a, not like a sudden, like, will you be my girlfriend? It was more like, we'd hang out every day. I would make up reasons as to why I need to go to RCTC because I only had like classes on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays.
We're dating. I already changed my Facebook status. Hopefully it's okay. Okay, bye.
Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness, I gotta change my Facebook my Facebook password. My Facebook
Brianna Love 101.
my Facebook status and see all the reactions.
Except I didn't have Facebook at the time, so it was just him saying that he was in a relationship and people saying, yeah, but who's the girl?
I think Drew's like, you're in a relationship with Facebook?
So
yeah.
you became official.
Yep.
Facebook
official.
Did you ask her dad for permission beforehand?
Right. Yes, I did. It was
Good guy. By the way, guys, that is how it is done properly.
Yes.
The father is the head of the household, and the daughter is under his authority.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they aren't close, it is best practice, if you want to look really good, to ask for the father's permission.
Right. It was a very awkward conversation. He's a trucker, so he was very hard to get a hold of at first.
He was on the road again?
I called him one day and like was pacing back and forth in the living room. I was like, "Hello, Mr. Malone. So I'm the guy your daughter's been talking to, and I was just wondering if it would be all right if I started dating her because I really like her." I don't remember exactly what I said, but she ended up being in the car with him, and so was Mrs. Malone, and it was on speaker. So, it was very awkward.
Yes, my father got the call from Daniel, and he made sure that we stayed in the car. I wanted to leave, but for some reason, he thought it would be good if my mom and I were in the car with him. And Daniel asked if we could date, and I think my dad asked, what are your intentions with my daughter? You know, the typical question. And Daniel talked about how the end goal of dating is marriage, and so that was his goal. And my dad liked that, and it worked.
And then we had kind of since I didn't know him super well, we had that like short conversation. So what's it like to be a trucker? And I said, oh, it must be super fun to drive it. And he's like, yeah, but you're driving an 18,000-pound missile. So I was like, oh, okay.
It's important stuff to know. Those truckers work really hard.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, but their job is very dangerous. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you started dating. How long did you guys date before engagement?
We dated for
2 years.
a year and a half.
Yep.
A year and a half. Wow. At what point did you know she's the one? And vice versa.
At the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah. We pretty much had it figured out, although I did doubt it a few times. And God showed me that he was, in fact, the person I was to marry.
How did he show you?
My dad. He played an integral part of our relationship. I was talking to him about asking him, how do you know if you found the right one? And my dad, I don't even remember what he said.
I do.
Oh, there you go.
You said that you heard God clearly say that I was. And then you asked your dad, how do I know if he's the right one? And your dad said, well, if God says he's the right one, then he's the right one.
That's kind of hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was mostly making a joke when I was like, at the beginning of the relationship. We had our ups and downs during college because, we're still trying to figure out who we were in Christ.
In the midst of those 45-minute long hugs?
Yep.
Didn't
Side
know
story.
that was gonna be brought up.
Deborah brought it up in her episode, so we had to
I
reference
haven't heard
it in
it
this
yet.
one.
I didn't know it was going to be brought up in our episode, but it does make sense.
We would hug a lot because we weren't really allowed to do anything else. Hug a lot in front of Sheehan to where people are like, woo, woo, kiss her already. Yeah. And then people were talking to Deborah about how we hug too long.
They're just jealous, I'm sure.
Yeah. Security department was like, your brother hugs way too long. And I guess people in Sheehan got kind of annoyed by looking outside and seeing us hug. So Deborah was like, guys, you got to stop. And then we were limited to like a minute of a hug per hug.
We just do 45 of those.
Which we found out a minute was actually a very long time.
Yeah. I don't think the original 45 minutes was a good time. I think that is an over-exaggeration. Like way over.
Yeah.
Deborah should have fact-checked first.
Yeah, I think people were just a little nosy and, just really wanted to say my fish is bigger, You've got that kind of story. Not my fish.
When did people start going fishing in this story?
I don't know. During the winter, there was a lot of ice fishing in Winona.
Yes.
True, that's a big thing down there.
All
right.
Anyway, we were...
Yeah. Sheehan, by the way, was my old dorm.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And
At Winona State University. Another unofficial sponsor of the episode.
And I lived in the what they consider the quad, which was 4 dorm buildings all kind of connected to each other. And that was like 2 blocks away. And
so dating.
Yes. And so anyway, while we were dating, I mean, we had to figure out who we were. I had to figure out who I was apart from my family, and in Christ. And so I was a lot of like, Lord, just please let this relationship like continue to work out. Lord, one of the big things that I kind of thought of was and I think my dad introduced the idea of this to me was, if someone like gives you something, you snatch it away, they feel like you're not mature enough to actually have it, so they want to take it back. Well, the same thing is with God. If he gives you something, you just snatch it away. He's like, you're actually not mature enough for that, so I'm going to wait till you do mature a little bit more. And so my dad said, well, keep your hands open. It's called the open hand concept. If you keep your hands open, someone puts a blessing in your hand, you don't just snatch it up right away. You just keep it open, and you trust that God gives, God takes away. He does what he wants. His thoughts are higher, his ways are higher. And so with our relationship, because sometimes it was a little rocky throughout college, it was, I keep my hands open to you, God, on what you want this relationship to be, whether or not you want me to marry her in the future. You just know the desires of my heart are to marry her, because I love her. So that was our time during college. It was a lot of fun. We would hang out late at night. We would go through the creepy town.
Creepy at night.
Creepy at night. We would...
with my roommates.
With her roommates. We
always have an accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
We always had to have a third wheel. And
also keep that in mind, guys.
It wasn't necessarily the siblings, because some siblings lived 2 hours away and the other sibling was busy with res life. And we would walk around town just kind of talking about random stuff. It was really fun. We'd walk in the summertime, we walk in the rain, we walk in the snow. We tried to walk through the driveway of McDonald's once. That didn't work, unfortunately. We'd go to Quick Trip. We'd grab snacks while we're walking. We just had a lot of good times hanging out with friends. We did a lot of study dates with friends. They had these things in Winona called
students.
Yes.
They had
like campus money. I was going to say they had campus money, and they had a kind of a little convenience store, and a while we were studying as a gift, I would go and get her favorite things, which are Mountain Dew Whiteout and
that's good. Yeah.
and Butterfingers.
Another unofficial sponsor of this episode. Maybe we should stop giving brand names until they become a sponsor. Okay, so all that process of dating during your time at the good old-fashioned Winona State University.
Yep.
Another brand name.
By the way, Winona is very pretty. The surrounding areas are very pretty. It's just a night it being new there, being freshman and
Noob.
noob. It was kind of like, I'm going to keep her close while I walk around.
So what was the process like dating to engagement in terms of like, I think I'm gonna propose this girl.
Well, let me tell you. I'm just kidding. I am this girl, so I think Daniel should tell this story.
So, dear, like the peak time of like the limit I wanted to put on our dating, which was 2 years, was we were with my dad, and we went to Wixon's, as we do sometimes in the cities. And at one point I was looking around and Dad just goes, I think Mom actually mentioned the engagement jewelry, the engagement rings.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, thank you. And Mom was like, why
We all know Mom was just thinking, I want grandbabies.
She got him, so it worked. And we were looking at rings, which this ring ended up being on the showcase. And I know that since she was going into
Law enforcement,
thank you. It would be better to have a diamond that was wrapped in metal so it didn't like fall off. And so we chose this ring, and Dad's just like slapped down payment onto the counter. I was like, it's time. I'm gonna work my butt off.
It's really happening.
It's really happening.
And this was like a year after we met that Daniel picked out the ring.
And then I paid installments on the ring for an entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to, work any job that would make me money to be able to pay that installment that during that month. And then after about a year, the rest of the money ended up coming in right away. Thank the Lord. Thank you, Lord. And I was able to purchase the ring. And my time frame was I wanted to get engaged that winter. And bought the ring, which was really exciting. It came in this gigantic wooden box, which when you get to know me, you know that I really like wood carving. And so the box was like, oh.
Matter of fact, he loves it so much. He will extend a project by years because he's so passionate about doing it.
Doing it right. I am very particular about doing it right, so I will extend the project years just so I can figure out the right way to do it.
Backstory.
There is an inside joke here, which you guys will get the punchline for many episodes from now. But how long this project continues.
When it's finished, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If it ever gets finished.
I know. Our listeners are expecting it now.
Yeah.
You start commenting with how many weeks you would like to see it in.
Be reasonable. This is wood we're talking about.
Yes.
And wood doesn't just carve itself.
Anyway. So got the ring like in December and was going to propose to her on like the 24th. And ended up planning like a proposal thing where I would do it, and did it down by the stream on our land. And the way that it went wasn't exactly the way that I wanted it to go.
That's usually how engagements work.
Yep. And the fact that I was sick I got a cold like a week prior, and it stuck for another week. And when it was time, her family came over to visit, and her grandpa already kind of knew that I was going to propose, and so he like hand gestured around her, and he's like, "Are you going to do it yet?" And I was like, "Not yet. Don't be so obvious." But I was also being obvious because it was right next to her.
I would assume you asked her to have permission for that, right?
I did also.
Remember that, guys.
Remember, I did ask her, and I actually asked them 2 months prior. So I was
Give yourself
ahead
a
of the
bumper
game.
period.
And then I think PJ's like, you should ask him the night of. And so I did again. And he's like, why the heck are you asking me again? You already asked.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I know. And that day came, and we lit a fire out there. My dad and I spent 2 days collecting firewood around the land that was dry enough to burn. And anything that wasn't dry enough, we dried for that night. And he went out, and he was like, he went to light the fire, and then he's like, "Hey guys, I got a fire outside. If any of you guys want to go to it." And everyone was like, "Nah." And I was like, "I'll go, Brianna. You want to go with me?" And she said, "Sure." And we
All
went,
this sounds about accurate how you guys actually talk to each other.
yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
That is how we talk to our dog. She
and
laughs a lot.
we headed on our way down to that fireplace, and Dad was down there, and I gave her, I think we hugged before we went down there, and it was a stupid choice to hug her because the box was like in the chest pocket of my jacket, protruding about this far out.
I've been working out on one very small pec muscle.
Yeah.
Hope you like it.
But the jacket kind of is fluffy, so it hit it until I hugged her, and it like squished. And so she definitely knew by then. And we got down there, we sat down, Dad's like, "Oh, I suddenly have to leave for some particular reason." I was like, "Oh, are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." And then we sat down for a while, and I was really nervous. I was like, "Brianna," and I like hopped up off the chair. I was like, "We should dance," because I know that Brianna likes to dance to music. And so I picked a song, and we danced. It was very awkward. We danced for maybe like 7 seconds of the song. And I was like, "So, Brianna, I know that you didn't want me to get you any Christmas gifts, but I got you something anyway. Would you close your eyes?" And she's like, "Okay." And she closed her eyes, and I got down on one knee, and I said, "Open them," and I presented the box with the ring in it. And I was like, "Brianna Ray Malone, would you do me the honor of marrying me?" And she said yes. And then we hugged. And since we got engaged, the rule was once you're engaged, you can kiss. And so I was like, "Are you sure?" And I was sick. And she was like, "Yes." And we kissed. And I found out that Mom and Holly were watching me with binoculars the entire time. In fact, PJ texted me, "Congratulations, ring emoji, binocular emoji." It was very funny.
It sounds like it. So how long was it between engagement to wedding day?
5 months.
5 months.
How'd you guys plan a wedding in 5 months? I wasn't involved at all, so I actually have zero idea.
Well, we picked the date because
I was the best man, too.
he just showed up
Yep.
Yeah.
because it was where we live, where he lived. So he had to show up.
I still live there.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got married down in the same place we got engaged.
So how did we plan a wedding in 5 months?
No doubt Michaela had something to do with budget, handling, and planning.
I don't think
She's so
anybody
good
had
with
to
keeping
do it.
dollars.
I don't think we
She
asked anybody
would
to
have
do
been a
budget.
really good help. Should ask her.
Anyway, your 10-year wedding anniversary? You
Yeah.
have like another wedding?
Yeah, can she help me?
Yeah.
Do you think she'll be busy?
I'll sign her up for that one.
Thank you. Well, we needed a date for setting up a Target registry. And it just happened that our anniversary was on a weekend, and it was on a Sunday. And so we...
Anniversary of dating.
No, our anniversary when we got married. But we didn't know that yet. that it was going to be our anniversary.
Well,
But anyway,
that's like some deep meta stuff.
the date that we picked was just happened to be a date that would work. And so we just started saying, oh, that's going to be our wedding day. And so we planned things for that day. We told our pastors that's the day that we're planning on getting married. We'll need to get all of our premarital counseling in before then. And just started planning things. Catherine actually helped a lot.
Catherine's also very helpful and good with money.
Yes. She had a whole spreadsheet that she sent over to us, which had things like budgets. It had the different roles and what the different roles will do and who will fulfill them. And a lot of people offered their help. We were on a pretty low budget for our wedding.
Yes.
Considering we were both still in college and wanted to follow the Dave Ramsey way of handling money. So we
Took one class.
yes, we took one class.
Thanks, Dave.
That's how effective he is. It only takes one class and you're experts.
That's true. Thanks, Dave.
Not a sponsor yet.
But when you are, we know it'll fit in your budget.
Yeah.
So we asked a lot of people for their help, family, friends. We found a church that was pastored by a family friend. We asked if we could get married there. And we were going to do the flowers ourselves.
So the entire town ended up chipping into that.
Yeah. It all happened to be during COVID, at the beginning of COVID, so a lot of restrictions were put in place, and wedding plans changed pretty much in the last couple weeks, and so we ended up having it at the farm here.
Because
And
you couldn't have more than like 10 people in the building at that time.
but outside you could have more people.
I think it was like 240 people. You just couldn't cater them.
Yeah. So we planned it to be an outdoor wedding, a small outdoor wedding with just family and friends.
Like honorary family. It was like 60 people in total.
Mm-hmm.
So it was within the law.
Yes. We made sure of that because
We're law-abiding citizens.
and so like pretty much most of the planning that we had done prior to the actual wedding day and the days preceding kind of went out the door because all of the laws or the ordinances or whatever they were that were set for COVID changed things. So it was basically planned in a week.
Yeah, so we planned our wedding colors, the cake, who would cater the place that we wanted to have a reception at, the place we wanted to have our ceremony at. We had everything, and then COVID hit. And suddenly it's like, okay, so our reception gets moved back. Ended up being moved an entire year. And then the ceremony place, we can't because 10 people rule. So we're like, oh, where are we going to do it? And I think Dad's like, hey, why don't we do it where you guys got engaged? So we got married where we got engaged, and we ended up having to, there's a group on Facebook called Northfield in Need, and my oldest sister, Catherine, she posted on saying, hey, we need flowers for this event. Does anybody have any flowers we can use? And I think even, the mayor or someone
A previous mayor, yeah.
previous mayor said, hey, why don't you come to my garden and pick as many flowers as you need? And everybody was like, pick flowers out of my garden, pick flowers out of my garden. So it was a lot of, favor from God in the townspeople's eyes.
Thank you, Northfield.
Thank you very much. You made it beautiful.
You helped the dream come true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I had my childhood dream that I had forgotten about until near our wedding was that I wanted a small outdoor wedding, and things were being planned for a different wedding. But God made it so that it was a small outdoor wedding.
Yes. And yeah, it was it was supposed to be not great weather, but then we prayed about it and it became fantastic weather. The power of prayer is very powerful. And we got all the chairs and all the other decorations and like the archway from friends and from our church. We had our rehearsal that day in the morning. We also had like a get together in the morning and played worship music, which was just amazing. And then we also set up everything that day as well. And Brianna did a lot of the design work around the arch, which was beautiful, like mossy green with the nice like archway wood. It's very beautiful. And then it was planned, but then all that stuff happened, so it became so rushed that during the ceremony, somebody had to end up going up to the house to get our Trinity sand, like the Trinity thing that you do. So they quickly ran up to the house during the ceremony, got the sand, and like snuck it behind us, and we used Sean's cajon as a table.
Unity sand.
What?
Unity sand.
Oh, thank you. I was like,
there are 3 sands: Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Sorry, Unity sand. And that was fun. It was a funny memory to that.
Daniel looked like he was going to kill someone on his wedding day. It was like, that's not the expression you should have on your face when you're about to say I do.
We had PJ and Drew. PJ was playing acoustic guitar. Drew played mandolin. You played cajon. Everybody sang. Kat sang lead.
I didn't sing.
Yeah, you got to keep beat. Yeah, it was a beautiful day. My bride looked gorgeous in her dress.
Thank you.
James, Sarah's husband at the time, wasn't her husband, was just getting to know the family, was our chauffeur in the Polaris.
Or also known as the blue car.
Or also known as the blue car.
Or Lexi's car.
Or Lexi's car.
Yeah.
And Dad ended up mowing over a bunch of alfalfa. Which,
that was definitely a sacrifice if you know our dad.
Yep, that's a sacrifice because that's the hay that we sell and feed the horses.
That's true.
Just to make that area very pretty and walkable and drivable.
It was a really nice day. I remember that. Like the weather is just fantastic, and like yeah, that definitely was an answer to prayer. I didn't know the backstory to the flowers though. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Very appreciative of all of Northfield for pitching in to make that happen and play into our brother getting married to his wonderful bride. So you guys got married. There were some different things going on at that time. So basically right after you said I do, you pretty much had to head off up to the cities to start your little mini moon.
Yep.
It was sad like seeing you guys go, but we were all happy for you at the same time. We all got to eat the cupcakes that you guys can do, so that was pretty great. More cupcakes for us.
Well, we got the top layer of the cake.
Okay,
That was pretty much all we ate.
That was all we ate because of the restaurants were shut down. The hotel wasn't serving breakfast or dinner. They had frozen pizza.
Rough going. Huh?
Yeah.
It was a beautiful cake, and it tasted delicious.
Thanks, Holly.
Yeah.
Homemade by Holly Medin.
Yep, there we go. And I'm just gonna say they're a sponsor. I could use some cookies.
The nice big peanut butter ones.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Holly. Thank you in advance.
Yeah.
So you got married. You went back to school the following school year, and you finished out your school time married. And Brianna, you and Olivia graduated on the same day.
Yes.
So how well, this may be not a question to go. Please don't go into too many details about it. But after you got married, was there a plan to wait for kids, or you just like whenever it happens?
Pretty much when we got married, we started thinking about kids, and since so many people in the family had twins, we were praying for twins. And so on our honeymoon, as a faith statement, we got a matching set of pajamas, one that could be for a boy and one that could be for a girl. And we prayed for 7 months, and after that, we found out that we were pregnant with Olivia, who is not twins, but it became quite a blessing because
She's got like the cuteness of two babies in one baby.
And I love twins. Thank goodness we didn't have twins during that time, because school and twins would have been hectic.
It would have been really hard. The Lord knew that that was not the right thing. He answered all of the prayers that we've had, and a lot of them had been yes, and here's the thing that you guys need. And this was the person that we needed, and I don't know how we could have.
Lord's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
It's true. So, you got pregnant. Want to know quick, Brianna, how did you tell Dan, man, and what was his response? No, we're not.
Daniel and I were starting my last semester of school, and
she graduated before I did.
Mm-hmm. And I had an internship
She's smarter.
I had an internship with a local police department, and I had started it, but then found out that I had COVID, and so I had to quarantine from the internship, and Daniel had all online classes, so he just had to stay at home. Anyway, we found out that we were exposed to COVID, and so we started quarantining, and after a couple of days of quarantining, I kind of knew something was up. Didn't get a chance to take a test for a little bit because Daniel and I were both in the same
There have been
place.
no way to hide the test.
Yeah. But one morning I woke up and was able to.
I rummage the trash all the time.
Did you?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, interesting. And so I took the test and then figured out that it was a nice kind of wintry day. We had to pick up groceries or something. And so I thought, oh, well, we have these 2 lightsabers.
We just bought off the clearance section.
Yeah. Not
True
too
love.
long before. Yes.
There's if 2 $1 lightsabers don't say true love, I don't know what does.
Yes. And so I thought, well, I'll somehow get him to have a lightsaber battle with me. And turned out that didn't. We went, picked up groceries and stuff, and came back to our apartment. And it took a while for me to be able to, stage things correctly. I got a card, and I wrote in it that he was going to be a dad. It was a Star Wars card. We still have it. It says it's a Chewbacca on the front, and it says,
"Welcome your little Padawan."
That would have been great.
It would have been. It said something like, "Congratulations," and I put inside that you're going to be a dad. And so staged this battle. I mean, this lightsaber battle.
Yeah, get the terminology right.
Thank you. I did.
Was it a Duel of the Fates?
It was just.
Star Wars, just never mind.
It's a joke.
You can rewatch this episode and you might get it later.
Okay. So staged this battle, and I am pretty good with a lightsaber, but
Which form? 5, 3, 7?
Jedi form.
Right. Someone needs to read up on Star Wars lightsaber forms, but keep going.
So I'm pretty good at whatever form I follow. I don't know.
Bashing it into my lightsaber while I back off in the corner because I don't like roughhousing if I'm gonna get hit.
Yes. Apparently I'm a little more violent when it comes to toy lightsaber battles. And
yes,
so
those real ones didn't exist at the time.
Yes. So I was fighting, with my toy lightsaber, just whacking it all over, and then I started to tone it down, make it so that he could win, so that I could then give him the
Such
card.
a good wife.
I know. And he felt really good, and then
My self-esteem went way up.
Good.
So
I gave him the card and a bag with the test so that he could see the confirmation.
I was really anticipating that to go a different direction. He was going to try and strike you, be like, don't hit the baby.
that would have been... you should have him help you prepare the next pregnancy announcement.
No, because now the lightsaber duel would be, it's called a duel. It would be too obvious. You're pregnant, aren't you? Yeah. Darn it.
So I told him, and he freaked out. He was like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
He was really happy, and then we played
And
the game of life. Funny enough.
So, became parents. Little Olivia was born with a full head of hair. I have to say, I was very jealous. Yeah. Dark, wonderful hair. She is adorable. Maybe we can flash up a picture of her right now. Beep. Super cute, am I right? And now as we kind of come to time, I'd love to get kind of a story from each of you, quick one, about one of your favorite moments of being a parent, and then one of your favorite moments of being a husband and wife.
I love seeing her develop mentally.
Your wife?
No, my baby.
You should hit a story about Olivia.
I thought we were talking about being a parent.
I said a story. I would love to hear from each of you a quick story about one of your favorite moments being a parent, and then one of your favorite moments of being husband and wife.
She's really smart.
There we go.
She just kind of understands stuff right away. Like right now, she understands the difference between blue and green. She now knows how to point at Dad. She now knows how to crawl off of a couch. And just watching her like smile every single day about the randomest things. Or when we were talking about how we talked like this to our daughter, we were playing a game and just like towards her went, nice! And she'd start giggling this like type thing with the double chin. Absolutely hilarious. And then being married, right? Favorite moment of being married is the moment we were in the hospital awaiting the arrival of our daughter. Love that. There you go. That was short.
Well done.
So
those moments are very sweet, though, in the hospital. I wouldn't trade those for anything.
One of my favorite moments of being a parent would have to be anytime I get to just snuggle her. She loves to move, and so she's not often in a snuggling mood. But when she is...
Much like her dad. Loves to move. Okay, sorry.
I was just thinking you also like to snuggle.
I meant when I was younger.
The truth comes out.
Or so I thought.
Okay.
So I love when she stops moving around to snuggle me, or Dan. Also, another one of my favorite moments of being a parent is seeing Daniel play with her. I think it's just the best thing in the world when you get to see your most loved and dearest people interacting, and seeing them together just brings tears to my eyes, and I am quite literally tearing up. And then some of my favorite moments of being married have been the drives or talks that we have. A lot of the time, being a parent, we don't get a lot. Being parents, we don't get a lot of time to talk about whatever we want. And so in the car, if Olivia's sleeping in the back, we get to just have conversations or listen to music. And I don't know, it's been pretty nice getting to know you even more.
It's
as
been nice
we're,
getting to know you too.
you know, as we get older, getting to know more about each other. Like Daniel just found out that one of the hobbies that I'd like to start and have started now is bird watching, and he didn't know that until less than a week ago.
It came so out of the blue when we were talking to Fred. You're like, oh yeah, I like bird watching. I was like, what?
How old are you?
No. That's kind of why I was like, what?
Grammy Brianna.
I used to be called a grandma.
That
was because of the way I dressed.
I actually just thought of this 2 nights ago. She still sleeps in our room. And
That's good that Brianna still sleeps in there.
I meant Olivia. Thank you. Olivia still sleeps in our room. And one night I was woken up at 3:30 to this little face and noise going, ah, ah. And I turned my face over and all of a sudden she just goes, which is her form of giving a kiss. And for the next 10 minutes, she just, especially my nose, wait, can I show this? Oh. And that was amazing. It was like, this is way too early, but I really love this lovey kissy moment.
It's always fun getting to hear those stories, being a parent, being a husband, myself. It's fun to watch my kids, and I've loved getting to watch all of my siblings' kids, and love getting to watch my siblings, how they're supposed to treat them. Very excited for the day that Deborah finds the man who will take great care of her and see how he treats her, and then eventually when they have kids, it's just something that's super exciting to me. So I can understand what you're talking about, Brianna. Watching your most loved ones interact with each other and cherish each other in the world. And I have witnessed and I think it's something that all of my brother-in-laws are good at, is being very present dads. Not getting caught up in your own thing and letting just the wife take care of the kids. And so I think that's a very important thing, and all the kids will benefit greatly from that, as well as watching moms that are so respectful and kind to their husbands, always building them up instead of tearing them down, reminding them of the great leaders there. That's the way a family should be, and it's fun getting to witness that. And I've got to watch you guys grow and develop in that, and that characteristic, all that stuff started when you guys were friends, doing friendship properly, dating appropriately.
Third wheels all the time.
Accountability, getting engaged, being an engaged couple appropriately, and getting
third
into
wheels
marriage.
for binoculars.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can just appreciate all of that, very much so. And it's been wonderful getting to spend some more time with you guys. Don't often get to sit down with you and just talk, even though we live in the same house. But I suppose, even in Welcome to the Medins, the point of getting to know us and us getting to know you is sometimes we even have to get to know each other a little bit better, as we are always reminded we're in the same family. So welcome into the family. Remember that. So thank you to everyone for watching this episode of Welcome to the Medins about Dan Man and Brianna and little Olivia. If you'd like to learn more about us, feel free to check out our Facebook page, Welcome to the Medins, or our Instagram page, which I'm working on populating with more content. And you can subscribe to our YouTube page, Welcome to the Medins, and press that little bell so that way you get notified every single time that we put up a new episode. We still have yet to meet Catherine and Tyler, and they've had some life circumstances that have made it a little bit more difficult to get together with them recently. Tyler has moved to Texas to finish up his flight school.
Yep.
To become a commercial airline pilot, and so he's working very hard, but he's sacrificing a lot to be away from his wife and his kids at the moment, and Catherine is sacrificing a lot being away from her husband all the time. So it's been kind of hard to get together with them, but we're hoping to be able to meet them. Sarah and James are about to have a baby, and
That might be a while.
And so I don't know if we're going to get to have an episode of getting to meet them before we move on to all the other topics that we show you guys what bedtime routines are like with kids. I want to do a baking show honestly, I love baking, and there's some cookies I've been wanting to have for a while, but I've been waiting until I can make an episode with you guys.
If you want to learn coding, I guess I could take one
can,
video. If you want to get to sleep, I could also make a video of coding.
Yeah. But that
would be a good idea.
We wanted to give you guys a chance to know all of us before we kind of dove into the rest of our lives, what it is being this big family, what we do, travel, baking, bedtime routines, just interacting with each other, Christmases, Thanksgivings, whatever it may be. Just wanted to make our lives available to you guys and invite you in. Hence, welcome to the Medins. So tune in again in 2 weeks where, Lord willing, we will finally be able to meet Catherine and Tyler. If not, you're going to see me baking real soon.
And if you really want to come and meet all of us, come to Backyard Bash, July 23rd from 12 to 9 p.m. See more details about the event at breakthroughrocks.com.
That's true. We do have a music festival that happens out at our place. That will be on July 23rd, which is a Saturday. Family friendly, got a lot of great music. Come out. Hang
food.
out. Yeah, got food. Holly sells cookies, so you can have some of those cookies I was saying I wanted right now.
I want those.
Experience that yourself. But we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Welcome to the Medin.